We're speaking with Denis Walsh, an incumbent candidate, seeking re-election in this fall's Civic election here in Kamloops. Denis, are there any social justice causes you're personally active in, or at least interested in?
Social justice causes? Well, yeah, there's a lot of those, especially in today's environment. Between street people, crime, addictions, all that stuff. I think we need to start having more conversation about that and see from the city what we can do, especially from a finance point of view, to try to give people a help that are doing so much work in the community. And it seems like most of the money is only going to 2 organizations in our city, and I think we need to spread it around a bit better.
Do you support a living wage for all working people?
That's a very good question. I've thought about that a lot, but I really believe I do. I think we have such a divided economics, in a sense of people's incomes and stuff, and I almost think that's the only way we're going to address it is to try to the have-nots, haves. Like, it's such a wide divide, and it seems to be growing all the time. So it won't be easy to do that, but I think it's something that we need to do.
The food banks first appeared in Canada in the early 80s, and their usage has only increased since then. Why do you think that is?
The food. I know they were supposed to be temporary. I'm sure that's how they were all looked at, and now it's part of our fabric of our society, which is unfortunate. They do an incredible job, and we could not survive as a society, I think, without them right now. But from a government point of view, I think they love these volunteer organizations. Obviously, it helps everybody in the sense of taxpayers, but I think there's too much reliance on that, and I think they need to look at more of the root causes of that and try to address that. The government especially has to look at trying to see an end to the food banks, whether that's 10, 20 years, because it's going to take a while.
What do you think is council's role when faced with epidemics like the fentanyl crisis or the lack of affordable housing?
I think it's council's role is to get involved in anything that affects our city, right? So I think with the fentanyl crisis especially, it's a tragedy, and it affects everybody, no matter what your walk of life, your experience is. And so as affordability, housing first is a key thing, but with support services, I think, are really critical for a lot of other people, not everybody, but affordability housing, whether from all continuum, right? From basically a basic house to even for students going to school need housing too, right? So we need to cover that whole gambit. And all we can do as a city, though, is we can provide city property, we can turn over and help build up the stock of housing, right?
What would you do on council to help eliminate homelessness?
I think whenever there's a proposal for, an affordable housing project, as long as it's not too concentrated in certain areas, I think they should be spread out a little bit, to avoid other problems. And I would definitely be supportive of those projects, and I think we need to look for more of those projects, and plus have a really good relationship with the province, because that's who's going to be providing the money and the services. So we have to keep a very good relationship with the province and bang on their door a lot that we need to address this situation, especially with Kamloops being a hub in the center of the province. I think we're more susceptible to that homelessness, and people, especially, and then we got a university. There's all kinds of reasons why the city needs to address it.
What do you think is a city councillor's job when faced with controversial development projects like Ajax?
I think it's city council's job to speak up, to investigate it, do the research, and talk to constituents and represent those constituency, on council, right? Like, to speak up, not to sit back and let some other even level of government make a decision that's going to affect our community, right? We need to be very involved and engaged in our community, and brave enough, strong enough to speak up on the issue, not just to hide in the shadows or sit in the fence.
What do you think is a reasonable income for a top earner in our society?
A reasonable income? For me, I think it's $100,000, but apparently it's closer to $2,000. But I think a very good income is anything over $100,000 personally. Anything over $200,000, I think the person is very fortunate, and there's people obviously getting a lot more than that. Yeah, so that's what so I would like to see, the average seems to be now that you need to have about 50,000 to be able to support a family. Oh, we're being invaded by walnuts or something.
That's okay. And who do you think should be earning these top incomes?
Well, I think everybody should have an opportunity to. Because, I think the average fireman wage is over $100,000, and there's people like, I think, the ambulance attendants that are making a lot less. And, they have just as stressful jobs and stuff like that, and some people could say more. But so I'm not sure how you determine who deserves it, but I think everybody should have an opportunity for it. People that go through, higher education, obviously they seem to have the best advantage of getting that type of money. But even laborers, there's some jobs that people work. I almost feel like the people that make the least amount of money work the hardest. Because even from being a small business for 36 years, there's times where I work 7 days a week forever, and hard, because you do everything. But you're lucky if you make 50,000. That's a success, right? So I think it's not based. It doesn't seem to be based on merit. It just seems to be based on you're fortunate, if you're fortunate or not.
What do you hope Kamloops will look like in 20 years?
That's a good question. I hope it's a clean city, like a clean air. Food security is a big issue for me. Like we got, and we have to be looking after each other. Like I think it's more about our attitude towards each other. Like I find Kamloops a very friendly city, but we have to take care of each other. So I think we just need to come together as a community and really care about your neighbor and everybody, and that would be a successful city to me.
Once re-elected, what will be your top priority? Are there any burning issues you want to see resolved or finally addressed?
That's a really good question. Well, one thing I think we should have is we haven't had one for almost 20 years. So when Mel Rothenberg was mayor, he had a Cam Talk 2020. So that was in 2001. And he had 170 participants of the community show up, around 40 facilitators. And they created this document, and that's where I think, because I really believe in bottom-up management of the city, and we need to find out where does the community want to go in the next 20 years. It's not up to me to say what my opinion is. It's got to be based on what the community wants to see, and so I'd like to see us establish a summit, a conversation about where we want to be in 2040 or sooner, but 10, 20 years down the road, but talk to the community, that's residents, business, small business especially, and just see what everybody how they can contribute. Where do we want to go as a community? And that's what I'd like to see us start that process. It could take a year. I just want to propose that to council.
Thanks for your time.
Hey, you're very welcome, Peter.